So we are at the Central Valley Reptile Expo, and this is the first time I've ever been here. There's a huge reptile community out here in the high desert, and we're gonna see what we can find inside. So I'm here with Guy Brunke, who is co-promoter of the High Desert Reptile Expo. Obviously everyone has like ball pythons, leopard gecko type vendors. One thing you were telling me is you try to make sure there's a variety instead of just being saturated with one type of reptile.
Yeah, we want to vary the animal inventory as much as we can. I mean, the first thing we look for is high-level keepers that are managing their animals properly and have the right protocol to deal with either breeding or reselling. The second thing is we want to manage the variety of animals that are in the building to give the customers a choice on what they buy.
There's going to be a lot of people that are going to recognize your name and face. What else do you do? Do you breed reptiles?
Well, that's a whole other issue. But yeah, I have businesses. I have been breeding reptiles for about 12 years now. I've been vending the shows for over 11 years. I have a retail store in Temecula. So I'm in the community. I'm one of the people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good luck on the show.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Enjoy it.
So your name is?
Jordan.
Jordan, okay.
Hi.
I'm Brendan. Nice to meet you.
So tell me about, looks like you're holding a Super Arctic?
Yeah, I am holding a Super Arctic, and it's actually a very cool morph. This guy's little name is Spawn, and what's really awesome about Super Arctics is that it is the super form of an incomplete dominant gene. And what that means is that they need 2 copies to create essentially the full expression. If they only have 1 copy, it's kind of on a spectrum. It'll be anywhere between looking really close to a normal to really close to a super. But what's awesome about the Super Arctics is they're actually born all black. So they are all black as babies.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and every time they shed, they get a little more contrast between the white and their spots. So as adults, they become this beautiful cookies and cream color, which is kind of what he's starting to exhibit, but he is not yet done getting his full color. They just keep getting prettier with age. But what's really funny is after their first shed, they go through a little bit of an ugly duckling phase, because you can't just go from black to white in just one shed. So they, sometimes when they're very young, they will kind of have this weird brown muddy background color, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to look cookies and cream. It's just that they still need to shed a little. But yeah, I really like the Super Arctic, and what's really cool is because it's an incomplete dominant gene and has both copies, you can pair it to anything and be 100% certain that all of the babies are Arctics. So it's an amazing powerhouse gene for breeding because you get to put it into pretty much any visual combo, and then when you pair those babies together, or even if you pair it to another visual, now they have the Arctic. So now you can get Arctic variations with those other visuals. Arctic on its own is honestly amazing. It creates a lot of really cool enhancing effects on their colors. What I noticed is really awesome about the Super Arctic is it actually has translucent scales near its face. So if you look at his chin, it is translucent, and his little nose is also translucent. It's not actually black.
That's so cool.
Xanthics are kind of my favorite morph, not necessarily because of the way they look, but because of everything that Xanthic can make. You can't really go wrong with any Xanthic combo. So our snows are going to be Xanthic and albino. Our ghosts are going to be hypo and Xanthic. Our toxics are going to be toffee belly and Xanthic. And the large majority of them will usually produce a really cool white-ish snake. And I say white-ish because the ish rest of it comes from whatever else is being paired in with the Xanthic. So with the snows, because it's being paired with albino, you'll usually get these softer pinks, these red eyes, pink tongue, but then when you pair it with a toffee belly, which is usually more of a browner color, you actually get a really cool gray spotted snake. Oh, you're okay, Spawn? Sorry, you're really active, aren't you? Such a cool little guy. I love him. He's such a great eater.
He's awesome.
And then when you pair it with hypo, which is a very soft golden color, Then you get the ghosts, and the ghosts are really fascinating because they have like this kind of hazy look in between their saddles, which is why they're called ghosts. But they have these deeper, like blue-purple colored eyes compared to the toxics. And their saddles are a little softer, so their spots don't show up as prominently. So it creates more of a ghosty look. Toxic was the first morph that I actually started working with. Beautiful. And there's so much variety too, between them. A really cool combo that's very rare still is the atoxic, which is just when you add albino into toxic, because it still kind of looks mostly like a toxic, but their eyes, instead of being bright pink, are almost like this ruby color, and they get like the softest pinkish, like it's almost like a peach color to their scale. Otherwise, I would say one of my favorite morphs is actually not a morph, but traits. So line-bred traits like extreme reds and phoenix reds, raging reds, but then you also have the lemon ghosts and just green lines, mostly because when you get line-bred combos into combos, they can create a completely different looking snake, even though genetically they're still the same. The most common one that you can see examples of is going to be albino. Now, you have the normal orange albinos, but if you get very soft colored normals that produce those albinos, you'll usually get yellow albinos, and you can also get them from making lemon ghosts. You've got the extreme red albinos, which are these beautiful saturated deep orange spots, and then you have the raging reds, which have more background color, and those albinos are also stunning. And then you have the phoenix reds, which there aren't any in the US yet, but they are currently, I believe, in London, and they, similar to the super arctic, start out very different than what they end up as. So they start out looking very normal, but every time they shed, the red kind of pops more and more. So they are legitimately like a deep rusty red color as adults.
And that's just something you can keep breeding in.
Exactly. You need to keep, and that's why I really like line bred traits, is because they take a lot of effort and they can have such an amazing impact on a morph. Whereas mostly when you just want to make a combo, you'll take the visuals you want to put together, pair those together, get a bunch of normal babies. Not because you'll always get normal babies, just because most hognose morphs are recessive, so you need both parents to carry that gene for them to show. So when you have the two visuals, you put them together, you get normals that carry both of those genes, then you pair those babies together, and then you'll be able to produce some of each color. We do outcross. Don't inbreed your snakes for multiple generations, because that will lead to problems. You notice that a lot more with both pythons. You have some morphs that are known for having issues, not necessarily because the morph itself has an issue, but because if you keep limiting the gene pool repeatedly, you increase your chances of repeatedly introducing an issue. We actually have an example of that with hognoses, believe it or not. The pink pastel albino, also called the PPA hognose, was the first hognose morph to actually ever be documented. It was found in the wild by a little kid, and it was just covered in mud, all dirty. He brought it into a pet store, and they paid him like really, really cheap for the snake, and they didn't know. They were just like, okay, it's a hognose, guy couldn't get it to eat. And they found out that after they washed it off, it was a soft pink snake. And this was the first morph ever. The problem is this particular individual was not the most genetically sound. So the first few PPAs had neurological issues, and they also had fertility issues.
I've never heard of that morph.
And in general, they're really cool looking. We finally got some PPAs, but the thing is, it was really hard for you to get into them, and because of the fact they couldn't produce that well and they had bad fertility, not a lot of people wanted to work with it. However, there were some dedicated breeders that did work with them. So they would take a PPA and they would cross it to a normal, and then they would only pair things with a lot of genetic variety. So we have finally gotten to the point where the pink pastel albino is no longer known for having all of those issues. And they can create really cool combos, but because so many people shied away from it, it's not as explored as other colors like albino. And albino was actually the second morph to ever be discovered, which is why we have so many. And they exploded because they did not have those neurological issues or fertility issues. However, now PPAs are pretty much in a good spot. You just want to make sure that you get them from a good breeder that has been working with them for a while. And ideally, you don't want to pair two visual pink pastels together.
So there's sable and then there's Dutch hypo?
So
Sable's
I
the
know
darker
that
one.
Evans Hypo and Dutch Hypo has been proven to be the exact same morph.
Okay.
It just happens to pop up one in Europe and one here.
Oh, okay.
But they are genetically the same mutation. The difference is where it came from.
Right.
The Sable, I think, is probably going to be like the next Xanthic in popularity. What Sable does, people usually think that Sable darkens the
Right.
snake, but it actually doesn't.
Interesting.
What it does is it creates hyperpigmentation. So what that just means is that it takes whatever color is already there and it increases it. So for example, when you have really dark Sables, it mostly just means that that was a naturally dark hognose that had its pigment increased, which is why when you create combos with Sable, you get really cool things. The most popular one right now is called the Sunburst, and that is albino and sable.
Yeah,
so
okay.
if it was a dark snake, it would not look the way
Right.
that it looks. It instead creates this very bright orange looking snake.
That's
the Sable
exciting.
took the albino
Yeah.
and just increased the saturation. That's honestly one of the reasons I think Sable is going to be really nice
Yeah.
as soon as we start line breeding better looking Sables.
Right.
This is actually one of my favorite morphs, is the Storm Cloud. And you can imagine, I did mention that two of my morphs are one of my favorites, and that's
Right.
Sable and Xanthic.
Right.
And the thing is, the first Storm Cloud created was in 2016, so it's been around for a while. However, they only started looking really good due to line breeding
Right, got years of-
recently, about like 2-ish years ago. And now it turns out, we found out that Xanthic has hidden blue pigments that you can line breed to increase. And if you get a really dark, hyper pigmented Sable,
Right.
you now have Storm Clouds that have a little bit of a bluish
Oh, that's so
tint
cool.
on their scales. And Storm Clouds are absolutely phenomenal. I'm lucky enough to have a visual Storm Cloud. They are very expensive.
I've seen a Super Arctic that I think is an anaconda that goes with it, or is it?
Yeah, they do like to make Super Arctic Super Condas, which will
Yeah.
usually be a really
They
nice
have like
black and white snake.
Like kind of almost like a street, like a white
Yeah,
street with black.
and that
Right.
comes from the Super Conda. And this is Ravioli. He is an extreme red Conda that is also het for albino. But you can see here, if you actually look at his back, he does have a concentration of color that creates that line down his back. And it happens to be black, which I've noticed is a pigment you find a lot more in the extreme reds. So sometimes you'll get super condas that don't have any spots, but they'll have like a beautiful line of color going down their back. So you'll find that a lot with extreme red albino super condas, just because they have that concentration. You'll find it in purple lines often, and the main reason you find that color is because they are line bred to have more pigment, and it just seems that a lot of pigment seems to be found on their back. So with the Super Conda Super Arctic, given that it was increasing the background color, but this seems to kind of be its own pigmentation, you get a really beautiful black and white snake that has this, and it's really a nice aberrant pattern that you get down their back. Yeah, this is an adult male. Not all of them get big. The large majority of males are very small. So they're going to be between 1 and 2 feet long. This guy over here is also an adult male, and he's almost 2 years old. I think our smallest male is 40 grams, and he is a 2019 male. Yeah, he was bred this year, locked, produced eggs, they were fertile, so 100% mature male. It's more about age than actual size. You can actually check how mature a male is if you look at their tails. So very mature males will have like full tails, so they'll be like really thick in the beginning, and that is in general a sign of, oh, this is a male. So if you look at his tail, it is very thick, but it's very long and it kind of stays the same thickness for the most part, but he is like a very well endowed male. Again, full grown, he's about similar in size to Ravioli, the one that I had earlier, but his tail is a lot thicker.
So if people want to find SnakeFul Grace online, how do they find you?
We are on Facebook. You can find us under Urban Dinos or SnakeFul Grace. We're also on Morph Market under Urban Dinos /SnakeFul Grace. You can find us on Instagram under both names. You can find us on Facebook. We also have a YouTube channel called SnakeFul Grace. If anyone ever has any questions or wants to talk about genetics, feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much for your help.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Eric Thompson, Chameleons 101. Nice to meet you, brother. This is our incubator that we designed. We've been selling eggs for 8 years. This is an Azure egg. He's right here. It's one of his kids. Every egg is 100% guaranteed to hatch. We have a hatching solution that you add to your incubator when you get home.
How does that work? So you just
So you're just gonna, when you get home, you take out the positioning sponge we put over the top.
Yep.
Then you put that lid back on. You add this whole contents to the bottle. Once it's gone in there and it's full, just lid goes back on and you put it somewhere in your house where you can view it without touching it. And it'll hatch around the date on the lid.
So it has an estimated hatch date.
Yeah.
Did you come up with this yourself?
I did invent this myself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mastermind. This is awesome. So
taking over the world.
Yeah.
This little guy hatched on the way here. One of our little hatching now babies that hatched now. Now he's ready. He can go into a cage anytime. Unfortunately, he's at the show for this weekend, unless he finds a home, of course.
Yeah. What do they eat like as babies?
So typically, newborns will eat a 2-week-old cricket, bean beetles,
really?
Fruit flies.
Heidi
Eye, of course.
Okay, Heidi Eye.
And our website has all of the information on it. I mean,
what's your
triplicate? Chameleons101.com.
Chameleons101.com. Awesome. And so you got this guy's gorgeous. So
isn't he amazing? This is Azure, yep.
And that is what this
He's still cold. He's not fully colored up yet.
Yeah. Oh, it's still beautiful. Beautifully colored. So they sometimes go this more brownish when they're.
These are girls.
So these are girls. So girls stay more brown.
Pastel colors.
Pastel colors. Okay.
They'll do pinks and purples, but they don't get the bright colors like
the boys get all fired up.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna be like what, red and blue?
He's all blue, red head when he fires up. His daddy is Tango, and Tango, 5 years old, just sold for a lot of money.
Oh yeah?
I can't believe it. $2,500 for a chameleon that's 5 years old is pretty amazing.
This is not full size, right?
He is not. He's only a year old. He's got another
6
6 months before he's maxed out, and he'll put a little more color on too. See if we can get his color to pop.
He sees her and he's gonna be like, hey.
What's up, ladies?
How fast do they change color?
Really fast. It'll be right on your camera if he's not too cold. He'll start nodding his head like, hello. He's a food-motivated guy. There goes the happy look. He's still a little cold. His red's not popping yet.
Yeah. What temps do they thrive in?
80 degrees is super stellar in the basking site. Just running room temperature, you know, is pretty good as long as you've got that basking spot. That's our new remote control chameleon. You're a stud, buddy. You can't have her though, really. I'm just teasing you.
So these are all panthers, right?
These are all panthers. That's all we do. And we've been doing panthers for 16 years.
16 years. And you're based out of Sacramento? Nice meeting you. Thank you so much.
Very nice to meet
Appreciate
you.
it.
Have a great show.
And chameleons101.com, right? So.
Thank you guys.
All right. So I'm here with Randy from DCR Reptiles. Tell us a little bit about your company.
Well, I started in, you know what, I don't even know when I started.
It's been that long.
I got the first ball python in '93, and you know, I've had different animals. I bred bearded dragons before snakes. I think I really started getting into breeding the ball pythons around 2007, 2008.
How many did you start? So you started with one and then you just kept going, right?
One, yeah, and then
Typical story.
Yeah, exactly. And then next thing you know, my office had nothing but racks. I didn't even have room for a desk. So then I got a building, and you know, I keep saying I want to be about 100, and I'm about 400. And every time I want to keep going down and down, I hatch a bunch more stuff, and you know,
more racks,
and yeah. So now I need a bigger shop, or need to get rid of more snakes.
You got a nice collection here. Obviously, you do a lot of puzzle, Atari. I know I've been talking to you about OFY, which we'll chat about after. But show some stuff. Like, what do you got here?
Well, so this is one of the newest ones. This is a bamboo leopard puzzle. And the really cool thing about this is it looks like a scoria boa. And, you know, of course, like anything else, when you get into new projects, nobody knows what it's going to look like until it's made. I would have never thought it would look like this.
This one's the
bamboo leopard puzzle.
Leopard puzzle.
That's it. Just simple 3 genes. So puzzles pretty much one of the routes I've started going. I love puzzles, so I have about 100 between visuals and hats.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is the exact same snake.
That's who's keeping all the adult females.
Yeah, I am a whore when it comes to my female. This is just adding spider. Same exact thing, bamboo leopard spider puzzle.
And it just erases the pattern.
Yeah, and the really cool thing about it is, like, when this thing hatched, it had this bright orange stripe right down its dorsal.
It just kind of got lighter and lighter over every shed.
Yeah, and this one has it too. You can see the color coming in. So pastel Mojave banana fluff, super pastel.
Oh,
so
super pastel.
same
Wow.
thing, just one extra gene. This one's actually in shed.
This one definitely, so the super pastel is making it even more yellow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So look at the colors on this thing. So the fluff, which is Sean Bradley's version of the red gene, actually just adds with the blushing. So this one, it could have yellow belly. It's so hard to tell. Yeah. So until you actually breed them, you won't know. Yeah. So that could be a combination of fluff and yellow belly, or just fluff doing that blushing. But yeah, the colors on these puzzles just pop.
Love that pattern too. That's so cool.
That, and then all the purple.
Yeah, the purple outlines.
Yeah.
I've been eyeballing your Ataris for like 2 years now. Tell us a little bit about the gene in general. What does it do? And show us your favorite.
So this is a lesser vanilla orange dream Atari. So the thing I like about these are the way it breaks everything up. So the super form is the Atari, mainly because the very first one, the lesser Atari, looked kind of like a video game, like an Atari.
Okay.
Like
kind of like square pixels, like kind of pixelated kind of.
It kind of almost like a Space Invaders.
Yeah.
So now one thing that we've noticed, I've been doing a lot of collaborations with my buddy Tristan, and we've noticed that there's actually a granite gene attached with the original Ataris. Okay. So we found that out doing lesser leopards when we got a couple and they looked different. They were same exact genes, but you could tell one was cleaner, one a little dirtier, and so we've been trying to separate that right now. But you can see, like, from a standard lesser Hatari, you can see how it breaks up the pattern, minimizes some of it, it cleans it up, and gives it that dorsal striping that you normally don't see with just the lesser. If you look, this one looks like inside the aliens, there's a little bit more speckling. That, I believe, has the granite in that one. Now, if you look at these over here, so you can see how clean it makes it.
Very clean,
And same thing, the aliens get a little pixelated, they get stretched out, and you can see the dorsal stripe. It's broken, but you can see where it was. Same thing on this one, you can see a very good dorsal stripe with a few breaks in it. So I'm really hoping to get a Hatari clown here soon. There's a few people working on them. You see on the dorsal stripe how you get the breaks, the openings in it. So it will do a chain link with certain genes as well.
Have you done cinnamon or mahogany?
No, so I've done a black pastel cypress.
Okay.
With yellow
Black
belly,
pastel do a little
and
bit,
that's one of my favorite snakes.
Yeah.
I sometimes I'll bring them to shows if I don't have enough, full for sale, just for people to see. But this show I got everything full. Got a ton of puzzles.
Now tell us about OFY. I've always asked you about this little secret project of yours. You brought it to some shows, but you keep it kind of close.
Well, I haven't let it out yet. Yeah. I've got Tristan, same thing, Upscale Exotics. He has some, and I let him take 2 of them, and I mean, that's my buddy, so I trust the kid more than anything. He's just such a great guy. Love what OFY's been doing, so I found some. They came down and a few guys were over at my shop and we were looking at a snake and we're talking about how clean it was.
Yeah.
And I just looked up a baby picture to show them and I realized that snake was 9 years old. And no one could believe it had not browned out at all.
Yeah.
It was a fire lesser OFY and not browned out any. Not even having pastel in there.
Yeah.
No browning. And I think this year I'm doing a lot more clown stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see a spider OFY clown.
Yep.
Yeah. I've seen what Spider does with OFY before, and I think that's going to be a really, really crazy combo.
It cleans up the pattern too, if I remember too, right?
It cleans it really well. It's a good highlighting, brightening gene.
Yeah.
It almost looks like Desert Ghost though. A lot of people that have seen them in person have said that it looks like a Desert Ghost, but it's not recessive. I mean, we'll see.
And you're based out of San Diego?
San Diego.
And if people want to find you, where should they look?
Usually Instagram's probably. Yeah, that's the one I can respond to the fastest.
Okay.
I have Facebook. I just kind of neglected it.
Yep. Instagram definitely is like the place for snakes right now.
Yeah, you can get a hold of me on there. Okay. A lot of it is on Morph Market, but I'd say at least half of what I have is not on Morph Market. So I tell people always, reach out to me if you want to know I have something. Okay. Especially, like I said, puzzle-wise, I always have a lot of puzzles.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much, Randy.
You got it.
We sell invertebrates, so that covers everything from beetles to scorpions, centipedes, millipedes, true spiders, tarantulas. Pretty much, if it's got 8 legs, we pretty much have them. Great beginner tarantula species is the Aphanopelma calcates. That's the Arizona blonde. They're very slow moving, they're very docile. They live a long time. Females can live as long as 30 years, so it's a commitment. Paintbrushes are your best friend. This is how we get our, come on. What are you doing?
I like donkeys.
Yeah. Well, you have to watch out because they'll kick the hairs off their rump, which are an irritant. Everybody's read comic books and they see the itching powder they sell in the back. It's tarantula hair.
That's right. The little tiny barbs. No, there's like different types of degrees of barbs, right? So there's like the other blondie.
Yeah, the Theraphosa blondie. Yeah. All the big giant bird eaters are notorious hair throwers and they throw big itchy hairs. But you can see. Now when handling a tarantula, the most important thing is to keep it low. They're surprisingly light, they're very, very delicate, and if they fall, it can be fatal.
Right.
So you don't want to be running around your kitchen or on the concrete floor with a tarantula going, hey mom, look.
Over here.
You can see I keep it low. If you're going to ever handle them on your bed. The curly hair, which is here, is another great beginner species. The only problem with curly hair is they got a little bit of an acceleration. Never going to hurt you, but it can go from your hand to your shoulder faster than you can do anything. And if you shrug, it will fall, and that can be fatal to the tarantula. So, you never have to handle a tarantula. It's probably not that healthy for the tarantula, but if you do it slowly and securely, it can be pretty safe.
I understand there's New World, Old World. Like, explain what does that mean for someone that doesn't know?
So, New World tarantulas are tarantulas from the Americas, North, Central, and South America. Old World tarantulas would be tarantulas from Africa and Asia. African and Asian tarantulas do not throw hairs, and everyone thinks that is a benefit and a bonus, but African and Asian tarantulas typically pack more of a wallop if they do bite you. That's their main defense unit. None of them are fatal, but they can be what we refer to as medically significant.
Right.
Not going to kill you, but going to maybe make you wish you were dead.
So you recommend like an orange
OBT?
Yeah,
that
OBT.
was the first tarantula I ever had.
That's a pretty good first one.
That was our big. That was our.
Beginner-friendly?
That was the introduction. We rescued. My daughter was about 5.
I was 5.
And we rescued an OBT, and that's how we got into the hobby. So everything's been
started
easy
at the
since
top
then.
and then just kind of.
And I did. I looked online. I went lurking online, and I was like, "Oh, I'm way over my head." But I boned up. I studied. We did it right. Lived a long, healthy life.
So for people that are scared of spiders or tarantulas, like how would you explain like why people like us like tarantulas? You know, like what do you like about having them?
They're like fish, but they're easier to take care of.
Yep.
They come in beautiful colors. They're typically out. Most of the species will just hang out. They're easy. The lazy person pet.
Yep.
You keep the water dish full, feed them 1 to 2 times a week, and you're done. If you're going to go away for a week-long vacation, your tarantula's going to be fine. You don't need to have someone come check in on it.
So you mentioned colorful like variety. Like what's your favorite? Like what are some examples that you have here?
We don't have any mature right now, but the Caribbean Aversa colors, which are at the bottom there, and they start out when they're young babies, they're bright blue, and then as they mature, they turn that beautiful raspberry color. So he hasn't started showing that much color yet. My favorite colorful tarantula is the Chromatopelma cyaneo pubescens, also known as the green bottle blue.
Yep.
So this first color, you can see the color a little bit better.
We can get that on camera. Yeah, that's very blue. Yeah, that's very cool.
And these are arboreal. They live in trees. So you set up a habitat that's vertical versus a terrestrial species, which you set up horizontal. And then there's fossorials, which are burrowers, and you set those up so that they can dig.
What about some of these other guys? So you got like true spiders.
So this is our true spider section. And then we
I
go.
see the big venomous sign there.
Yeah, we notate all the ones that we refer to as hot.
Yep.
And then we get into tailless whip spiders. And then we also have vinegaroons.
The vinegaroons kind of look like scorpions, right?
Yeah, they look like a scorpion, but they have a long, thin tail that whips and throws acetic acid.
Really?
And you know what acetic acid's other name is? Vinegar. So they're
What does that do, like to your skin? Like,
well, it's going to irritate it. It's going to irritate your eyes when you get vinegar thrown in.
so these are the.
This is our vinegaroons moving into centipedes, and then centipedes into beetles, and then beetles into millipedes. You take care of a millipede, it's like you make yourself a salad. You take all the pieces you don't eat, toss it into one.
So do they not bite or?
Well, they'll chew on your dead skin. They'll actually exfoliate.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean,
I never knew that about.
so that would be the new trendy thing to do: is buy a bunch of millipedes and then do exfoliation treatments.
So
Women will pay for that. I know they will.
Centipedes are the ones that are the
Yeah.
they have venom.
Yeah, they're the of the invertebrate world. They're the honey badgers.
Okay.
They envenomate and they're pretty aggressive and they're fast.
Well, thank you so much for the overview. If people want to find you, where do they go?
It's BugCageCompany.com.
Well, thank you so much for your help.
You're certainly welcome. You guys have a great day. Come on down and see us.
Tell me a little bit about like what your favorite reptiles are, because you got a lot. You got a lot of everything here.
Oh yeah.
So you got like blue tongue skinks, you got ball pythons, boas, you got corn snakes, you got beardies, you got tortoises right there.
We got some tortoises over there as well.
You got jungle.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you got everything.
I would say that my favorite at the booth right now, if you want to step over here, this guy has to be my go-to.
Black dragon.
This is our little buddy here.
You're like getting shredded, huh?
Oh yeah, weekly nail trims for sure. But this guy's so cool. We've worked with him a ton, socialize him, and I mean just puppy dog tame now.
Like
Oh yeah,
turn and bite you.
This is the age you gotta do it, otherwise you're in for a world of trouble later on down the road. So besides the nails though, solid little guy. You're looking 7 to 8 feet.
7 to 8 feet. Well, that's every guy is massive.
Oh yeah, the tail's
That's
huge.
making up like what? The majority of their
I would say probably about a little under half the of the body itself. But they're monsters. Our boy Poseidon back at the shop, I mean, he's already pushing 6 foot.
Where do you keep these usually? Like, if someone was gonna have a black dragon as a pet,
So you're looking at eventually a custom enclosure.
custom made.
Custom
Usually
made.
like what, screened. Or
no,
you can do acrylic.
a lot of people dedicate almost a room to these guys.
Really?
But you're looking at, I mean, as an adult, you're going to need like 12-foot enclosure.
12-foot enclosure.
Minimum. You're looking like 12
Because they're
foot.
really active, they like to climb. And
Yep,
yeah.
12 foot long by like 3 to 4 feet deep by probably 6 foot high would be ideal.
Yeah, dedicated room, basically,
Yep.
like you said.
Exactly.
It's like
Something
having
they can move around.
having
and-
like a big dog.
Exactly. Yep.
So you got the black dragon.
Black Dragon's definitely one of the go-tos. These little Ackies below him are awesome too. They always crack me up. They're just,
They stay pretty small, right?
that's about full grown right there.
grown.
Yep. And then I would say I love my crested geckos, man.
You love your Cresties, huh?
I love the cresties. We got some more little Ackies right here.
Little Ackies.
Yeah, they're so funny. Weird little personalities, hopping around like frogs.
Do you have a favorite morph?
I like the pinstripes a lot.
You like the pinstripes?
But this one's actually really cool. I was just looking at it. Got some really like charcoal grays with a lot of Dalmatian spots on it.
Yeah, all of them are just kind of so unique. Like their
They
patterns
are.
are like fingerprints. They like to lick their eyes. 'Cause they don't have
Exactly.
eyelids.
Exactly. So, and the fact that they're more active. You know, leopard geckos are awesome too, but
Leopards.
they're sleepy most of the day.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
If people want to find Reptile Shop, where do they go?
You can find us on website. You can Google us. We're really active on Instagram as well and Facebook.
Because so reptileshop.com.
Yep,
Awesome.
reptileshop.com.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
So that's a wrap for us. Gotta say, I almost took that little super Arctic hognose. They're so cool. I have a Arctic snow female who's kind of small right now, and I'm also not sure if I want to get maybe like a super Conda, super Arctic instead. Any of the retailers that I did have an interview with or talk with, I've linked in the description below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Expect more videos in the future. I'll see you next time. Peace.